technology was not as evenly distributed back then as today. So 15 years ago, only the big companies, the Googles and Facebooks, had like highly available services. So I didn't have any contract lined up. What I knew that I need a break. It's like I need to try, and I also need to try this. So I was on a paternal leave like 6 months earlier, so I had a good month or two to think things through. So I was certain in my mindset. I was not certain about how will I earn money. I had like savings for 9 months.
I think it's very helpful and healthy to everyone to be able to negotiate things, and when we are employees, we don't get a chance. That it's kind of sometimes if you ask for a raise or like kind of any kind of change, it doesn't feel like it's a actual negotiation. It's more like kind of like begging. Welcome to the Follow the Pattern podcast. I am Csaba Huszka, Go Backend developer, and my today guest is Laszlo Fogas, DevOps consultant and the founder of the Gimlet. Thank you for joining.
Hello, Csaba. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very pleased to be here.
So my first question would be: do you think that they really need cloud providers in order to build robust web applications?
Very good question. I think I'm going to answer your question very soon, but maybe I respond with a question like,
all right.
How did we do it like before cloud, like 10, 15 years ago? So this was just a rhetorical question. And I think, yes, we were able to do those things back then. I think what is interesting that obviously technology was not as evenly distributed back then as today. So 15 years ago, only the big companies, the Googles and Facebooks, had like highly available services and the kind of scalability they have. So it was possible, probably not at the price point as today. Yes. But the question is interesting because there's a reason you asked it, partly most likely because I was vocal about, trying out workloads outside of cloud providers. Yes. I think it's interesting in 2023. I think there is now there are some good reasons to try workloads not in the major cloud providers, the Googles, the Azures, the AWSs. I think there are much more options today than maybe 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, you had to cable your own racks and all that. So maybe there are a more diverse range of services that you can use. I certainly think that price is an issue in 2023. So there is some cost considerations when you go to cloud, and if you have stable workloads and you are using managed services, huge data volumes, that could add up quite quickly. So if you are looking into some price reductions, you might have some benefits going to not to the hyperscalers. And so the technology has come a long way in the past 10, 15 years. So it's funny, but the kind of things we did to run our workloads in the cloud also make us better equipped to actually move them out of the cloud again, because we are much better at.
I feel sometimes that someone invent a new technology, everybody wants to grab it and want to overuse it, and I feel like this is what happened with the cloud providers. So everybody wanted to use the Google, everybody wanted to use the AWS and so on, and now we kind of realize that there are certain cases where you have to use them. Obviously, I guess the size that the Netflix has, they have to rely on one of the cloud providers. But like medium or small size companies, I don't think they really need to use only AWS or any other cloud provider services. What do you think?
Yeah. I definitely share the sentiment. I think if you look back just 10 years ago, like the conventional and more conservative companies were very much off cloud, and they were not considering going to the cloud because it's not secure or it's not reliable, or they had their reasons. Now the tide has turned, and it's kind of going on to AWS is kind of today's IBM. So if you familiar with the saying that nobody gets fired for purchasing IBM systems, it's kind of the same today with AWS. So if you are not if you're risk averse, or if you just want to follow what other people do, it's often people just default on AWS because that's the most common thing to do today. Yes, so if you're a corporate, or if you are a more traditional company and you don't want to take bets here, I think it's perfectly safe, and yeah, you should do that. That's definitely the case. But there are some reasons to consider maybe not your whole stack, but parts of your stack to not be hosted on AWS. I have a few examples. Maybe we can talk about those. But yes, there is comfort in following what everybody else does.
Right. And when we talk about having an application that's robust, um, obviously, if we want to scale it to a certain level, we can't really avoid using providers, cloud providers. But if you just only talk about having application robust, by robust I mean like if it crashes, it should be able to reload and not losing data with that crash. Do you think that we can achieve that characteristics in an on-premise solution, maybe even, or just smaller virtual machines?
100%. So I think cloud native technologies we have today are leaps and bounds more advanced than just 15 years ago or just 10 years ago. So definitely, and I wouldn't even say that the size of the workload that matters. I think cloud is it's elastic. So like, EC2 is like elastic compute. Elastic computing cloud, I guess, EC, and then 2. So if you need the elasticity, you have Black Friday coming on, or something like that. You have to scale quickly to large numbers. I think cloud has an amazing proposition there, and it would be not cost effective for you to not be in the cloud. But if your workloads are more mature, more stable, maybe you are in B2B, then your load is much more predictable, and then you can size and you can invest and you can depreciate the capital investment you have. So yes, and yeah.
No, keep going.
No. So there's one part of the cost and the size of the workload, and then there is the technologies. And you were asking about the technologies themselves. I believe with Docker and Kubernetes and all those technologies are available now. Just a little over 10 years ago, there was no like container technologies widespread in the industry as today. So yes.
I'm going to ask a naive question. So do you think that can we build an application on-premise or a small virtual application, keeping in mind that we might want to scale that in a higher scale in the future?
So from the technology perspective, I think if you containerize your applications and so that's one thing. Now the packaging is there, and then of course there are a bunch of application concerns, like how do you manage state? Can you run in multiple replicas and so on? So if you design your applications keeping those concerns in mind, then yes, you can start out very small. Even just a single node running, 10 containers on it. Later on, bring on a few more nodes or virtual machines. And honestly, hardware is crazy fast today, and the number of cores you can get is just amazing. So if you start out on the cloud and you still just start picking the 2 cores, 4 gigs of RAM kind of setups, but for the same price for a bare metal on a bare metal provider, you can get 8 cores or 16 cores, which is kind of a difference that makes you think like it can make a lot of sense to not start on AWS, for example.
We will get back to this. Before that, can we talk about how did you start your IT career?
Certainly. I started out as a Java developer, like back in 2007 and 8, or I don't know,
Right.
but yeah, it's around that time. I think people who wanted to, get a good job started out with Java. Was a safe option or a safe bet in Budapest, Hungary, like and basically everywhere. So Java is my home base, or where I started out, and then I started working for multinational companies in Budapest. Lufthansa Systems, which is one of the companies I worked for more like 4 years, and then um, I always had some sort of self-starter attitude. So
Mhm.
while you are working for a big company where things are perhaps a little bit slower than you would want, and
Mhm.
maybe the technologies are not as exciting as you can do after hours. I did some Android programming in 2009 and 10, and
Mhm.
yeah. But then Java was
Uh,
my yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask that, was it hard to switch to Android? So I never really write application to Android, but as far as I
Mhm.
remember, it's kind of close to the Java, or it's Kotlin, or maybe I'm not entirely sure.
So it's been a long while when I programmed Android, and back then one of the selling point for me that it was Java. It
Mhm.
wasn't the same JVM. It was a different or re-implemented virtual machine, but
Yeah.
all the Java things I was writing just compiled uh, without any issues on Android. So that was definitely um, a good entry point for me into the mobile world. And mobile back then was very exciting. And I didn't even have a smartphone back then. And the first Android phone I got was like a huge, chunky, the Google G1, and it was very exciting to program to Android. Uh, Later on, actually, the sort of the mobile world lost me when there were many more form factors, different screen sizes and dimensions and so on, and support was not like in the development tools were not very good, and I only had a single device, and it felt like it's that I can't be as good as I want to be, and I sort of got discouraged by that. But then Java was a ticket for me for my next job. I actually wanted to live abroad. Um,
Mhm.
Me and my girlfriend we picked Denmark, and Java was a ticket really
How
to
come Denmark?
That's a good question. People back then were going to London and Great Britain and maybe Germany or something like the big countries. Um, we always felt like we are kind of too special for those countries, or those countries are very conventional. And so my girlfriend wanted to go somewhere south where it's warm, and honestly, back then I thought that nothing is going on in southern countries. So it was a good middle ground to go to Denmark, because we had some friends who
Mhm.
lived there, and we had an opportunity to stay with them for like an Easter period for a week, and then as again, and Java was a ticket into Western Europe, because in that week I was interviewing like to 5 places, and a
Mhm.
couple of them said yes, and I picked one which felt like the most uh, easygoing one, and that was my next job, which was back then it was an agency, but then it turned out to be a startup and later a scale up, and it was a it was an amazing choice. Like looking backwards, that was a lucky punch, but I'm glad that I chose. It was called Falcon IO, and I was living in Copenhagen, Denmark, and at first I was doing Java, so
Mhm.
like they had the same stack, like EGB3s and JBoss application servers and so on. Uh, but then in a startup, you do all kinds of things. So I did some front end, but mostly cloud operations from a very early day, 2011. We were doing AWS, and I was running the servers, and yeah, things like that.
And after you, I guess, you started work on the DevOps, I assume, as it was in the same company or different company.
It was the same company, so I spent a good 5 years there. And as I said, like startups, you can't really pick just one
Mhm.
specialty area. You have to be like all over the place, and honestly I enjoy that kind of thing. So being just in the IDE or just mastering a single programming language, that has never been my only goal. Or honestly, I much more go wider in different
Mhm.
areas and pick up things there or help out and so on. And suddenly I was a DBA and, and a cloud infrastructure operations person and all that, and it was quite exciting to actually be responsible for the whole stack, like operation wise and backend programming wise, and how to scale jobs and so on.
And I assume that when you started to work in a DevOps engineer, you didn't use Java too much. I guess the application were written in Java, but maybe the surroundings were written in different languages, Python, I assume, or any shells, or maybe even Golang.
Yeah, so the word DevOps, I think we didn't use that word at that point. And when you are operating things like, yeah, it's a bunch of scripts either in Python or Bash or I don't know. So it's not like a high level typed programming language like Java. And we started picking up infrastructure as code, I think, in 2014 maybe. We
Mhm.
picked up Ansible, so that was Python related and all kinds of things. Yeah, and then the next frontier was containerizing our applications and how to run them at scale. At that point, actually, I left the company, or around that point. It was a very difficult thing to do back then. There were so many competing technologies, Core OS, Fleet, and and Docker Swarm. Maybe that wasn't even out back then. It was Mesos, Apache Mesos, and so on. So there were so many different areas, and honestly, we were not focused enough to pick just one and become experts. So I think it took like a good year until we were just postponing and exploring things. And at that point, actually, I left the company, as I said.
Mhm.
Um, it became much larger than me, and 5 years at a startup could you know you would enjoy some more focused things and a break. So yeah, then yeah. That was a checkpoint in my life, and then I went to freelance DevOps.
All right, this is what I wanted to ask that. So when you left the company, you considered yourself more a DevOps engineer than a software engineer, or like who writes application code.
Yeah, I didn't really know what I consider myself, honestly. For I had some identity crisis. The Java people moved on to Scala, and Scala didn't feel like a good home to me. There was too
Mhm.
much mm, language languagey things going on, so that was not the kind of programming I enjoy. So that was interesting, and there were much more smarter programmer guys at the company. So I kind of lost my my base, my foundation, and I was also doing like middle management at that point. So
Mhm.
DevOps was dear to my heart, and infrastructure and all that, but I was taking on a bunch of people management responsibilities and so on. So I was kind of I don't know what I was doing, and then to refocus myself 100%, DevOps was the place which was like, yeah, I'm a DevOps engineer. I mean, I enjoy the the whole life cycle of delivering software, and there was a lot of interesting technological challenges. So basically, the first few months after uh, leaving a salaried job was me sitting in a co-working place and learning Docker, doing tutorials, Docker Compose, and then all kinds of CI things, and then you needed to orchestrate those containers. And Kubernetes in 2016, late 2016, looked to be the dominant one. So Docker
Mhm.
Swarm was out, but it didn't have a really good reception and press. They had a bunch of issues and stuff. So I was jumping on the Kubernetes train December 2016.
And so you said you started or like you started your freelancing, and then So did you have like a contract, or you just said it one day that, okay, I'm going to leave my employment status and let's see what's going to happen, and I open my freelance license and let's go? Or you had a company who would be up for you to, work for them via contract?
Yes. So I didn't have any contract lined up. What I knew that I need a break. It's like I need to try, and I need to try this. So I was on a paternal leave like 6 months earlier, so I had a good month or two to think things through. So I was certain in my mindset. I was not certain about how will I earn money. I had like savings for 9 months, so that was all right for me at that point. And then obviously, when you are start living off your savings, suddenly
Yeah.
the 9 months doesn't feel like a lot, and then
Yeah.
then very early on, or so like the first month I was writing blog posts and learning Docker and learning Kubernetes and all that. But after like a month and a half, after the, I don't know, the 10 contracts I was trying to get were not coming through, I just started accepting random things. The good part is that it turned out that I have kind of a network in Denmark, because the people who worked for that company I worked for, they moved on over time, and they worked for other companies in like mid-management roles, and they were pulling me into various things. I was at some point even managing some external contractors for a startup, like coders and stuff, which wasn't the ideal thing to get to do, but to get started, it was money on the table, so that was good. But of course, as it usually is, if I would have just sit tight for 3 more weeks, I could have landed a Kubernetes assignment, which I actually accepted. So I was doing 2 assignments at the same time, and then the container focused things were actually is what I've been doing in the past, I don't know, 7 years.
Right. So it started to take off. That sounds amazing. I don't think I could, like, manage the stress, like quitting all my things and then just, waiting for something new. So that's very good that you were able to do that. Did you consider to use any kind of freelance platforms like TopTal or
Many times, and so TopTal, I never felt that I'm good enough for TopTal, or it would have, I don't know. I always felt like skeptical that I could get in there or something. So a couple of times I put my profile up on Upwork and stuff, but it's not the marketplace where I think I can compete, whether it's price or something. So actually nothing came through Upwork. Like looking back, getting a contract position, like a full-time contract position for 9 months or 12 months contract length, I think it's not difficult. So if you are employed and you go freelance and you pick up one of these contracts through the same recruiters that you get regular jobs from, it's not difficult, and honestly, it's a very safe path, and your situation is not much different than an employee of a company. Of course, you will not be joining the Christmas party, and you will not have your one-on-ones every week. But after some time, I don't know if you are doing this life, like the engineer life. I considered those things as like a burden, or I don't care too much about those things. So it was actually a very comfortable position to join companies for 6 months, 9 months, get a lot higher salary, but still you get to renegotiate
can you give us sorry, can you give us a number, like percentage wise, how much more was it working as a contractor compared to being an employee?
Easily. So I was not in for the money, I was more in for the freedom. So I was working half time. basically, compared to my salaried employee status. I needed to work half as much. So basically just 4 hours a day, or you could take a couple of days off if you wanted to earn the same money. So that's definitely was worth for me.
And do you think that you learn more, like so, to your career?
Exactly. Of course, if you are on a good project and you can follow a project along for many years, you can advance on the career ladder. You can become a staff engineer or an engineering manager and all that. You will not do it as a contractor, but as a contractor, you can repeat the same assignments, the same pitches to companies every 6 to 9 months. So if you want to go deep in a technology and be like a technology expert, containers, Kubernetes, and so on, I think it's a very great position to be in. Like every 6 months, you can renegotiate your terms, whether you want to work less hours or for more money or a different scope. You can be more picky about the kind of work you do. If you are an employee, sometimes you have to do this and that, and you will not become an expert because you help out wherever you can, which is fine because that's why you are employed, and that's like being on good terms with your boss and forming those lifelong connections is great.
I think it's very helpful and healthy to everyone to be able to, negotiate things. And when we are, employees, we don't get a chance. That it's kind of sometimes if you ask for a raise or like kind of like any kind of change, it's not, it doesn't feel like it's a actual negotiation. It's more like kind of like begging, like so it's just so awkward, the whole thing. I didn't really like that. So this is one of the thing that I'm really happy I started to be a contractor, because every time we finish the contract, so just we says, for example, if we agree on like half year or a year, and after the 1 year we can decide if we want to continue, and we can renegotiate the whole thing. And it's just more helpful and more not helpful, it's not the best words, it's more healthy to both
Healthy.
of the parties. And compare, so it's not, I don't feel like I'm under my business partner. We kind of in the same level, and we just naturally talking about what will be the best for both of us. It just feels better. I wish we had the culture in Hungary, or maybe everywhere, where everybody is kind of like a contractor, and then nobody would have that position where you kind of like push into a thing because you are employed, and then you're kind of afraid of changing. So that would be, I think, that would be awesome.
100%. And I love the word healthy. The discussions we are having are much more honest, much more focused, much more specific, and forces both parties to be actually be upfront and show their intent. If you are working for a company, sometimes these things are not get spelled out, and it starts growing inside of you, and you get frustrated, and things are not talked about in as clear terms as if you are a contractor. But of course, sometimes the contract doesn't come through, and then you sit ducks for 3 months, and then there is the mental thing going on. And there's only been like 1 or 2 times I had this period. It's bad. It's really bad. Obviously, if you have the mental strength, or we talk about mental strength, but it's a lie. You know what gives me mental strength? Money on my bank account. So if I have the money to weather through it, then I am like rock solid. But if you don't, you can read as many blogs or you can listen to this podcast. It's just not it. Nobody is a machine. Everybody has family and mouths to feed, and you have to do stuff. So yeah, but if you build up some savings, and because work comes through eventually, and the right kind of work comes through, or has been for me.
From here, how did you like, I guess you learned how to run a business. I mean, obviously it was just freelancing, but you had to kind of learn more about the accounting and all the business related thing, the contracting, and then I guess around that time you found the Gimlet. So
Mhm.
how did it play out?
Yes. So when I started freelancing, I had an idea that this could be the platform, or this could be the basis of something bigger, something else, a company to grow out or like to start out from. So I had this thing on my mind for years. So I started out 2016, and it was in 2019 when I was started to um, dial down hours even more. So I was only working, I don't know, like 1 day a week as a
Mm.
contractor, and started to experiment with product ideas. Back then, it was a CI platform, Drone.io, which had a
Mm.
license change. And I felt opportunity there, so I forked the repository and started developing it further, and with the idea that I'm going to pitch this to companies and I'm going to sell a service or
Mm.
like a package that I don't know. Um, let's use drone and it will cut your CI times in half, and I'm going to do training and all that. Now it never really happened this way, but I started to build up the skill and the mindset to actually work with products. And um, late like early 2020 I started with Gimlet, which is like a deployment tool for Kubernetes, or as I today call it, it's like an internal developer platform for Kubernetes using Flux CD underneath. And yeah, so it was definitely a process, and not until 2021 I was, or maybe 22, until like fully behind it. So it was a long process mentally. Like, how do I define myself? Am I a contractor? Am I a freelancer? Am I a startup guy? Because being a contractor, as I said, it can be quite similar to being an employee. You are working on projects. You are not carrying any responsibility. You're not putting your whole identity on the internet. Like, you're a contractor. You're replaceable, and kind of it's a well-known position to be in. But putting your product out there and kind of uh, you know it shouldn't be like that, but it's kind of part of your identity. So if you put your product out there and it's not getting adopted or getting rejected, or people are going to say this is bad, then you kind of feel like you you are worthless or something like that. So it was a very long process. Still, I was fully in to the idea that I'm running Gimlet, and not like 1 feet in one realm, like freelancing, and 1 feet in the startup world. And I can go back and forth whenever I feel like it, or whenever I'm more comfortable in one world or the other. So it was a good 2 or 3 years process for me to actually transition to being like saying like, hey, I have a company. It's called Gimlet.io. We do this product. This was a big change, and it took quite a lot of time for me.
All right. And what kind of problem does the Gimlet solve for us?
Yeah, so I was consulting Kubernetes, and
Mhm.
I was seeing that there are brilliant tools there. They are brilliant building blocks, but basically it takes months and months to put them together. Ingress controllers, log aggregating, metrics, deployment tooling, continuous deployment, and so on. So all these things to put together, it's an investment. And since I was doing projects like this, over time I was seeing I'm doing the same thing all over again. So basically my stack formed pretty early on, and I was using the same stack at every client. And um, and the whole workflow was so there is not like a standard workflow to deploy to Kubernetes. Of course, people put their scripts into GitHub Actions, and they call Helm install, or like at the very basic end. But today's world, we started talking about platform engineering and developer platforms and developer experience and self-serving developers who can do all kinds of things like that they don't file tickets anymore to create DNS entries for their microservice when they launch, or things like that. So people build these platforms, and that's a very costly exercise and require very skilled people, and those people have all kinds of responsibilities. So Gimlet basically helps you to cover the deployment part and the day-to-day workflow with a great UI and user experience for developers.
So referring back to the beginning of our conversation, so we said that cloud providers, or not every company needs cloud providers. As we now understand, or we learn more about you and your tool set, do you think that Gimlet can be used for companies? It can be useful for companies who don't really use too much of the cloud providers, for example, AWS or anything?
Yeah, 100%. So Gimlet assumes there is Kubernetes, and I think
Right.
if you deploy to Kubernetes on a cloud provider, or deploy it on Kubernetes on a bare metal provider, the tooling is rather similar. Of course, you have to work on the edges of Kubernetes, like how networking is and how security is considered and all that. But once you have Kubernetes up and running, Gimlet can be a great tool and your platform to interact with day to day. So yes. For example, we use Gimlet to manage our cloud offering, and we run on Hetzner. Due to price considerations, it was for us a no-brainer to start out there. I'm not saying that this is a good option for everyone, but I'm saying that when we looked at the price point, it was a very easy decision for us to use Hetzner to start out with Gimlet Cloud.
And if you talk about the size of the companies, so who would you recommend Gimlet to? So like small size, medium size, or larger?
Yes. So historically, we've been working with small to medium-sized B2B businesses who are running a SaaS platform in the Nordics region. So that's basically my home turf from consulting, and that's the kind of size of company. Let's say from 3 to 50 developers, or 5 to 50 developers, where I feel comfortable. That's where there is some structure, but it's very flat, and the processes are not covering everything. So you can actually do stuff very very quickly. So this is where our current client base is. I don't know, a few Scrum teams. Working on a product every day, and they have, like, I don't know, either just a few well-sized monoliths, or like 50 microservices or something like that. I think Gimlet can scale further up. So in terms of number of services, in terms of teams, we have features that scale quite well. It's more like the kind of companies that we are able to address, and that the companies who take us seriously. So we are still a small company. Like, we are like three people with contractors on the side. So obviously we cannot approach like a 500-person company that would eat us up in just one project. And our goal is to have as many installations as possible. So right now Gimlet is tailored for startups, scale-ups, medium-sized businesses, agencies, and so on. And we are in Europe, and I love working with Europeans. So that's where our focus is right now.
So when we say Europe, do you mean like a western part of the Europe, or Central Europe, or are you actually open to every? So is it more like the preference to you want to work with European companies, or you just happen to be like that?
It happened to be like that because so I was living in Denmark until 2018, and then when I came home, I was keeping the client base, and basically every time an old colleague moves to a new company, kind of Laszlo is attached to the deal. It's not like that, like but I sometimes I feel like that, and that's a great feeling. So we have the user base in Scandinavia, and honestly, it's only this year that I started to engage more with Hungarian, the Hungarian community, and
I
started to
was
have.
about
Mhm.
to ask that. So if you target Central Europe, Hungary obviously included, Romania, um, Poland, and so on, do you target these countries?
Not yet. However, I see that there are great communities like the Cloud Native Budapest, Cloud Native Szeged. So we are running that in Szeged, and I'm seeing that there are similar meetup groups in Timisoara, and I'm going to Austria next week. So I started to focus more and more in this area because there are great developers here and great minds. So product-wise, it's a very good I don't know group to be in.
Mhm.
As for client base, we just don't have any companies in this region like paying customers. But I'm not against the idea. Yeah, so that's just historical things. But we are more and more into the local communities in Hungary. So we love doing that. And price wise, I honestly don't know what we can do in Hungary. So I need to explore the market. Like
So as far as I know, Gimlet is open source, and you have a free plan as well. So I guess the pricing just for trying out, figuring out what's going on, I think it shouldn't be an issue.
exactly, and honestly, it's an open source product, meaning we don't even have like an open core kind of features. So like
Mm.
uh, other features for paying customers and so on. So if we meet a great company in Hungary, they can just use it for free, and we are doing community support. I'm supporting a guy. It's not a local local person, local company from South Africa. He's using
Mm.
Gimlet. He's happy and everything, and I'm doing so much community support for him just because we are glad that the product works out for them. And if they have like recently they had some production issue with some persistent volumes acting up, I was great to just jump in and help them. And I would happily do the same for anybody in the local communities. And the way we earn money is doing support and cloud kind of a consultancy work, like one-off
Mm.
things around Gimlet, whether they are going through SOC 2 compliance audits and so on. There is a lot of work related to that. When they need to restructure, I don't know, their networks or their databases, we are doing a bunch of Terraform work and basically just to help them to adhere those compliance regulations. That's where we earn money today. So it's not license fees too much, but that's just how it is today.
Right. So you mentioned that you try to build communities, and you actually building communities. The Cloud Native Szeged or on Budapest, the same thing. What do you think, based on your experience on the meet during the meetups or any kind of connection with Hungarian companies? What do you think? How we are with integrating cloud technologies in home or at home?
Okay, it is a very interesting question because so we are running a cloud native Sagad, and
Mm.
we usually have a very good turnout, like 20, more than 20 people in each meetup. And in Sagad, it's only just half of the people who actually use these technologies.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
yes, the other half just comes because it's
They are
it's it's a,
excited.
they are excited, they are curious, they are engineers, they love interacting with, and there is not many much other meetups in Sagad. So I definitely saw this kind of split between the audience. And it's one part is kind of sad because it would be super great to like geek out on Flux and everything, but the other half is super deep and knowledgeable about these. In Budapest, I think the situation is different. Everybody's using Flux, or they bring the Prometheus use cases, or right now we are discussing Dagger.io for CI/CD. So Budapest is a much bigger group of people, like a group of engineers, and finding 20 who is interested about cloud native and using it in production is a lot more easy. Um, that said, I used to organize Cloud Native Copenhagen, and
Mm.
I'm visiting, and there is Cloud Native Aarhus and Aalborg, and I'm going there. Those guys are on the cutting edge. So when I'm not sure if, for example, if you are familiar with Backstage, like a developer portal solution. The world is now doing those backstage projects, and they have been running it for, I don't know, for a year. And the same was true when I just started looking at Flux. Their cloud native bank, Lunar, was running it for a year, and they were a huge advocate for me as well to pick it up. So I see that, for example, Denmark is on the cutting edge, and they are very receptive to any marginal improvements. So they are very much on the forefront. But I found amazing people in Hungary as well. That's why I'm doing these meetups. So
how long have you been doing these meetups?
Founded Cloud Native Copenhagen back in 2017. I was running it for 2-3 years. Then I came home, and then I founded Cloud Native Szeged 21 maybe. So like
21? Okay,
yeah, or
it's not a
yes.
while ago.
Yes.
Do you see any kind of trends like people, like more people come and join, and more people or more companies in Szeged try to integrate Kubernetes, for example?
I am not seeing any trend like that. So I think the split has been there in the beginning, and the split is there today. So there is not like a huge trend to everybody's moving on to Kubernetes. I think many things are set in stone, and it's difficult to change it from Szeged.
Did you experience the same thing when you moved to Denmark and you were working as a Java engineer the first time, and you translated into DevOps and you started to kind of like figure out what's going on with the Kubernetes? Did you feel the same thing, the kind of the same process? They were like kind of slow to integrate these things, or they were more flexible for some reason?
So I just painted the picture that today they are more cutting edge, and I think they have been. If you take the snapshots every year, they are always on the latest technologies. And obviously, this is a large market, and there are people who are still running, I don't know, VMware from 2010. So there are those companies. So there are always conservative companies everywhere. It's just running the cutting edge in production happens perhaps more easily in Denmark. That was my this is just my feeling, so I can't prove anything like that with numbers. But that was my feeling, but I guess this is related to people being like constantly learning there. Let me just insert here a story. So my girlfriend still works for a Danish company. She sits back home working remotely and speaks Danish in our house. So that's that's pretty fun. But the story she told me yesterday is that she has a boss. He is 45, kind of, and he was joining an OpenAI course in Denmark for creatives. So he's an ad or like marketing person. And he was joining this course. And when he came home, the boss was saying that, yeah, it was all nice and everything. And honestly, they were teaching them very cool things. He made a speaking Obama head. So like, I don't know how to make that. And this person was making it at the year of like as a 45-year-old person. And his complaint was everybody was older than him on the course. But imagine this: these are not even IT people; they are not even technologists in like a computer science sense. But they are learning how to make speaking Obama heads in 2023 when OpenAI is just 1 year old. And this guy complains that there are there are 50-year-old people there. So, like, do you see what I'm trying to get at?
That's amazing. So I don't think in Hungary, I mean, it's obviously again that's just my opinion, and as you couldn't, I also can't really prove in numbers, but I fail to see that like a 12 like older people would sit together and learn about ChatGPT, and I don't think, or like OpenAI, any kind of product they have. I obviously know the ChatGPT, but Yeah, I can't see that happening in Hungary.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. And even my girlfriend and her whole company is like super excited about OpenAI, and just colleagues discuss that they snap a picture of their fridge and ask ChatGPT like what to cook or what to
Yeah.
buy from groceries. So this might go into politics, and I don't want to go there. I just want to say that Western countries and Denmark especially are always in forefront in innovation, because they know that the small 5% improvement, or with OpenAI maybe 50% improvement, those things add up and compound, and over time, this is what keeps their development ahead of other countries. So it's a mindset thing, and I think even people in our age, like 30 40 years old people, have responsibility in Hungary to actually keep learning and be in front of the technology curve,
I totally
because
agree.
because that's the guarantee of earning well, not the kind of I don't know, state money focused approach, like how to get more money out of the state or from the EU. That's not forward looking.
Yeah, it's not, definitely not. So talking about the AI, generative AI, ChatGPT. So you also mentioned that you do community support, and I would assume that it's could be a large amount of work. Did you think about introducing ChatGPT? Or I'm not sure if you see that. Like 2 days ago, they streamed about their latest release, and they allow you to build your own instance of the ChatGPT. Did you think about integrating into your tool or into your support work?
Yeah, so it's not overwhelming at this point. So I'm not as successful as, I don't know, maybe Coolify and other tools like that. Who like I just feel from Twitter that the guy is overloaded with support requests.
Mhm.
I haven't considered it deeply. I'm aware of the announcement, and I'm aware, for example, you are doing nomad things in Bali right now, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Then
that's correct.
you know the Nomad List website and Levels.io from Twitter. He already made his GPT version of himself. So I am aware of the possibilities, but obviously practicing is where where actually things are making a difference. So um, I know the possibility, haven't planned it yet. No, I'm doing streaming instead and just learning elsewhere.
And I think I just did like a brief look on what Sam Altman said. He's the CEO of the ChatGPT, and
Okay.
you can basically upload files, and that
Yep.
instance is going to learn that. So I assume
Yes.
you have the documentation already. So you can upload that file, which wouldn't take that much time, and that your instance is
Exactly.
going to learn how to reply, how to answer questions
Yes.
for the community. I think it's
Yes.
awesome, and I think it
Yes. Yes.
wouldn't take too much time to
Exactly. Exactly. So I think, yeah, as you said, you upload the file, 1 or 2 hours tops. That's sort of my understanding of the involvement of this process. Yeah.
So as a last question, if somebody wants to try out your product, try out to Gimlet using that, what's the minimum tool set they need to use? What the minimum tool set they need to have in order to use a Gimlet efficiently?
Thank you for the question. So we've been working very hard to not have hard dependencies. The only thing that you need is Kubernetes, which
Hmm.
could be like a huge block in your head, like, oh yeah, but then I need Kubernetes, and how do I do that? And blah, it's a huge tool. Turns out today you can have a containerized Kubernetes up and running in like 10, 15 seconds. So if you run Docker desktop, I believe you have Kubernetes integrated there. So you can spin up a cluster there, or we have blog posts on K3D, uh, which is like a containerized and simplified Kubernetes. It takes out the distributed database storage engine and whatnot, all the complexity part. So basically, to run Gimlet, you need Kubernetes, and to have Kubernetes, you basically have a CLI tool called K3D. You write K3D cluster create, and then you have your cluster up and running. Then you can apply a Kubernetes YAML on that cluster, and Gimlet will be up and running. So some level of Kubernetes understanding, or just the trust that you copy the commands to your terminal, and then you have Gimlet running in 1 minute. So that's the only requirement we have. And then on, we will give you the automation for further deployments. So further deployments will not happen through the Kubernetes command line tool. You push manifests to Git, and it gets synchronized on the cluster in a minute. So that's sort of the approach. You can continue from there. And if you're not familiar with the Kubernetes manifests, that's all right. On the Gimlet UI, if you want to deploy your container, be that a web application or cron job or whatever, there are presets that you can just pick, and you can deploy your app.
Right, and you also said that you are working still sometimes a DevOps consultant. So I would naturally assume that if someone have like literally no idea how the Kubernetes works, you would be able to provide them kind of like a brief course or like a constant support to teach them how to use that.
Exactly. So we talked about the community support part, and we talked about communities. I am super grateful giving you even like a 1 hour call with Kubernetes getting started. It's not as difficult as some might say. Like there are memes on Twitter like the complexity of Kubernetes and all that. I enjoy them, and I know where it comes from. But if you keep your focus, and I can help you keep your focus, Kubernetes is not that difficult. Obviously, Kubernetes sells to enterprises, and complexity sells very well. So all those companies who promise you that you can manage the complexity earn very well, but you can keep Kubernetes quite dumb. And to get started, it takes 1 hour and 2 maximum. And I'm happy to help both as like a community support, and also as like a official training, or like commercial trainings, and even like an accelerator project to have a POC running on Kubernetes in a short amount of time. So
both
yeah.
in English and I guess Hungarian as well. So if someone happened to reach out in Hungarian, then it's also
100%. And I know a few very good trainers in Hungary. That's why communities are great. I know a few people who are doing amazing Docker and Kubernetes trainings as well.
How we can reach out to you, or how we can reach out to the meetups you have? So what's the best platform to follow you?
Okay, I'm still in love with Twitter. However, it's the love is diminishing day by day. So Twitter, Laszlo CPH, that's where I hang out every day or all day. LinkedIn, it's right. Laszlo.Fogas, that's my handle. And the communities we are running, meetup.com is the place to find.
Right. I'm going to include that in the description. And so you just mentioned that you don't really like Twitter. Why is that?
One part, obviously, there are the you don't feel good about using Twitter anymore because of the kind of statements a certain person is making, and second, it's just not good for marketing. The organic reach is ridiculous. So whenever it's low, it's too low.
Did you use before for marketing before Elon bought the Twitter?
I was using it, and it was never good. And if you want to do marketing, LinkedIn is my recommendation to you. LinkedIn is the algorithm, like the algorithm there is much more straightforward, and you reach more people. Plus, the length or the shelf life of your content is not just 15 minutes or 30 minutes. I'm getting likes on posts I made 2 weeks ago as well. So yeah, so LinkedIn is the place if you market. Otherwise, you find me on Twitter and Gimlet.io and those places.
Speaking about Twitter, I just get excited about this topic. So you said you've been using Twitter for kind of marketing before Elon bought the Twitter, and you still kind of use that. So what's the, let's say, like the impression change you've seen during this period?
I don't have like exact numbers. It feels like it's less than half. So previously I made a tweet, 200 people was the reach was at least like 200 people, and engagement was not very high back then either. But today it's more like 100 people that I can reach, and it's usually the very same people who engage with my content, people who are very close to me. So I feel that I just don't, I'm not able to break out from my own bubble there, compared to LinkedIn, where I make a post, easily 500 people, and not just in my connections, but outside, and so random internet people engage with your content. So it's not even on the same ballpark. So.
Understand. And obviously, we should add that for these numbers that you deal with technology, and then it's not as general than, for example, a UFC tweet would be with that thousands of people or hundred thousands of people have seen that. But the technology, writing about a very specific topic, it's always challenging. So really seeing the 200 dropping to 100, that's a huge cut.
Yes. Yeah, it really does feel like that Twitter and Facebook is for the mainstream topics, and it's not easy to market there. You can't target all people who are 35 and, I don't know, bought a car last week like you can do on Facebook and Twitter. So that's sad, but we shouldn't be too attached to marketing channels, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. So you use LinkedIn, and you do streaming every week.
Yep.
What do you think, or how do you feel? I'm not sure when did you start that? Couple of months maybe?
Exactly. So it was sometime in August. I come home from vacation, and I was like, hey, I need to learn a bunch of things myself, and why I don't just stream it. So that was the first stream, and I am streaming through a platform, and that broadcasts it to LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And LinkedIn is great. Since then, I started to organize these events beforehand and invite other peoples on the stream. And there was a stream where like Docker founder Solomon Hykes was joining in, because we were talking about his technology, and it was kind of an early Twitter feeling. You know, when you first join Twitter, you suddenly see the people who are your heroes, and you can talk to them. That was my feeling with the LinkedIn event. So I streamed to LinkedIn. Twitter is not bad. People don't engage there, but I see that there are some views, and just being top of mind. Like Laszlo is at it again, kind of. That's I believe good for business, and YouTube is good for retention. Like and that's content you can keep for years ahead or years forward. And there are new subscribers every week, just one or two, and there are one or two likes as well. So YouTube is here to stay, and Twitch is the worst for me.
So you're streaming to the YouTube as well?
Yes, it's
right.
Yes. It's a StreamYard, the tool I use, and it has this multiple destination functionality.
Thank you for joining. I think it was a great conversation. I personally learned a lot, and I hope that the audience did the same thing. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you very much, Csaba. I love your questions, and thank you for the interest about the story and Gimlet and everything. And hope to catch up with you in person as well soon when you are back from Bali. Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit subscribe. All details about the podcast can be found on the Follow the Pattern website. The link is available in the description below. Join the Follow the Pattern Discord server, where you can ask about the podcast, or you can submit your questions to our next guest. The link is also available in the description below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye.